Hey boys and girls, this is Larry with ubrailroad.com. Check me out. Tonight's video I'm going to talk to you about my way that I've been building mountains since, oh gosh, the 70s. I've always used plaster of Paris. Now I know there's 1,000 ways to build mountains, but this is the way I do it. If it works for you, great. If it shows you some shortcuts or tips or tricks, great. If not, hey, it's just what I did. The first way I start on my mountains is once I realize my overall layout, I cut down these strips of cardboard. I usually put 3 or 4 of them together and run them either through my bandsaw or through my table saw at 1-inch increments, and then when you fold them all out, sometimes they could be 7-8 feet long, so you could break them and do whatever. But you could see how I kind of tape them, and you could glue them, staple them. Any way you can get them to hook together, you know, all they're basically going to be is a form, because once the plaster dries on it, you can pretty much take them out. I don't, I always leave them in, but I'm just saying, you know, the plaster is self-sufficient. The downfall of plaster is it is heavy. So you got to put, like in here, you got to put a lot of extra supports, either with wood scraps or junk or something or another. But here you can see what I call bear claw gap, and I'm going to take you out on the layout and show you what it looks like when it's finished, but I thought this would be a good starting point. Here you can see the entrance. Here's the other entrance, and then this in here is the bear claw gap. And then in the next picture, this is what my mountain looks like, where this is where my real water log flume comes, and this is where my actual waterfall comes. And you can see how I lattice it all together, staple it right to the wall, and then I get to working on it and interweave it and, you know, kind of get a general shape of the way I want it, you know. And then in the next picture, this is on the coal side now. Here's a tunnel that comes out toward the town. This will go into the mountain, and this little bare area is where the Matty Rose will sit, and this is where Bosco di Giacomo's whimsical house is. Here's where the coal plant, or the coal tipple is from the mine way back in here. And you can kind of see how I went about putting all this together. Once you get all your latticing up, then is what I do is I come back and I use a 2-ply paper towel. And I got a 5-gallon bucket that I mix drywall mud in. I put water in it and make it so it's like, almost a little thinner than pancake mix, okay? Then I spread it all over my tin sheet, and then I put a paper towel down, and then I brush it, and then I overlay the latticing. And when you're all done, this is what you're going to get. Now, this isn't real strong. This isn't the final plaster. Then when I'm all done with this, then I'll come in with actual plaster of Paris, and I'll go over the whole top of this thing, because when you color this doesn't quite color as nicely as plaster of Paris. It's got more of an off-shade gray to it than it does a pure white. But you kind of see how this is going here. Let me get to the next picture here. Here's another picture showing you, you know, a little bit more of it. You can see I start a little bit down here. But this gives you an idea of what your paper towel, I don't know what you call it, your paper towel layers look like. Here it is with the waterfall all done. The mountains are all up there. I got a little bridge up here now. And this is kind of the way it all looks now. Except it's all finished. This area right here, this was just a big piece of blue styrofoam. It covered the big hole. Then I just put a thin coat of mud on it so that it would, you know, look pretty much the same before I finished it all off. Now, this right here is actually a removable panel. This way I can get back to it, because right about here, I actually have a under the mountain switch, and if anything goes wrong, I have to be able to get into it. I've never had to take this out yet, but it does remove. Okay, and then you can kind of see what it looks like on the inside. You see the latticing. You know, it's all taped. You can see right here, this isn't even holding anything. This isn't holding anything. A lot of these don't hold, but they just give you your basic general shape. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Okay, now you could kind of start seeing how this is coming together after I start using some plaster rock molds that I put in place, or I'll make them on the table and then break them and set them in place or do whatever, as I get into that in a little bit. And now over on the coal side, if you've seen my video yet on the tall timber trestles, I talked about this. This is kind of perforated cheesecloth. It's a different style. Instead of using latticing, you could also use screen, 1/4-inch wired mesh, anything that would hold your shape. Some people use styrofoam. You know, whatever you find that you could work well with, just use it. But I thought I'd try this. This worked out really good because I didn't have to go through all the trouble of stapling and putting all my latticing in, and it just all came together real well. So right now, I believe this is the last picture here. Let's see. Oh, okay. See how I outcropped on here? I put my latticing all up in here, and I put my white paper towel. Now I'm starting to put my rock molds. And this is how I anchored them. I would take these, you can see how they're bent. They have pressure on them. So they hold the mold to the exact curvature or depth or crevice of the mountain, and it makes it adhere to it. And then that gives you that realistic, real deep depth look of a true mountain. So if you could do something like this, you know, outcrop it off of the layout, it does give a lot of depth and a lot of character. Another thing that I did over on this far side is I went floor to ceiling. So, you know, anytime you could put more imagination in your layout, it does give a lot of overall appearance, more realism, more character, anything you want to call it. Let's see if I got any more on this slideshow. Okay, here I am putting a rock mold up here. Now this one is about an 18 by 18. Notice all of the different rulers. The reason I got the rulers is that this one here bends under, this one kind of bends under, this one is tight up against here. These are all tight, you know. But when I take you out here and show you the actual mountain, you're going to see why I needed all those rulers. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's it. All right, I'm going to shut this off, and then I'm going to walk out to the train here, go through my high-tech wood shop here, or my overall messy place where I do all my construction. But here it is right here. Let me get some lights on. Okay. See, right down in there is where you were seeing that. And you could see how that wraps around and it creeps under and pops out and does all kinds of things. And you could just kind of see the depth of this, how much ruggedness you actually obtain from this. This is all basically one major, what do you call them, rubber form that I use, but I've got about 30 that I made out of smaller ones, and I'll show you how I do all that too. But as you could come around here, this is the outcrop. You could see how that kind of wrapped around and went up and over and what have you. It gives a lot of depth and character. And then when you come over here, you can kind of see how the wall looks when the train comes onto it, like it's been cut out possibly, or, you know, it's just a little ridge area. Again, here it's all the same. You can kind of see how it all goes. You can see this piece is separate, you know, like you just start throwing this together and this will come to you. But here's my real waterfall and real water log flume. And you kind of see up there I used, you know, big rocks. I got big rocks up there and here, and, you know, just use a combination of things, you know. Don't make everything all the same. That gets boring. So put character and emphasis and, you know, just whatever you come up with. But, I mean, you can kind of see what I did here. And here's that big panel that comes out right here. You can't quite see it as good as you could before, but it's there. And then, you know, like down here, that's a bent form or a bent rubber mold. And then like some of these here, These were just smaller ones that I made, and I cast them, and then I could cast like 10 of these guys and just throw them all over the place, you know, or put them on the side of a mountain or something. And, you know, nobody ever notices that you got 10 rocks that look the same because they're looking at everything else. It's just a thing that highlights it. Then you kind of see how it looks over there behind the tall timbered trestle, and all the way back up in there. Gives you an idea. All right, now we're going to go in to the laboratory, and I'm going to show you how I go about making some of this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to set this down. I'm going to position this a little bit, and then I'm going to get set up, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I've got all my rubber molds lent out to a friend of mine who's building his layout, but I do have one left. This I found in a dumpster. I find a lot of stuff in dumpsters. I'm a dumpster diver and I love it, but I found this. This is used for facing the steps on concrete. It's not real rugged, but you're going to get the idea when I'm all done showing you. Then the next thing I got is just a bucket of plaster of Paris, a little mixing bowl, a little mixer, you know, anything you want to use. And then I'm going to show you how I go about doing this. I'm going to make some up real quick for us. I'm going to set this down, but I want to make sure I'm viewing. Okay, so what you do, I'm just going to make a little piece because I'm all done. I just want to show you how the color and everything works on this. Okay, you just put this in here like that. Just a little water. You know, you don't want to get too much water in it because then it gets too wet and it takes too long to dry. So then you want to start mixing it up. And when you mix it up with plaster of Paris, you're going to notice a lot of little bubbles or balls in there. Those are little plaster balls. You want to make sure those are all broke up real good, because otherwise you'll have a weak spot in there, and if it falls apart it can look, you know, or break on you, it'll look kind of stupid. But anyway, okay, this is about the thickness of it. You see that? It's almost like a Play-Doh or something. But anyway, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pour this on here and give you an idea of what this is all about. We just work it on out, mash it on down, fill up the mold the best, or the way you want to fill it. I got to get another cheapy item I find, and that are these things. You find these all over Walmart. 50 cents, a buck. You know, I try not to spend much money on anything because I'm a tightwad, and there's nothing more that I like than free stuff. So by getting all of this and saving money makes me be able to buy bigger and better train engines and stuff that I can't make, you know, animals, figures, cars, whatever. Okay, now this is starting to actually set up right now as I'm trying to get this all out of the thing here. Now this is, like I said, it's just going to be a little mock-up. But you're going to get the idea. I'm going to show you how I color this. I've got an absolutely unbelievably neat way to color this. Okay? But right now, let me get the camera. Okay, you see how you do this? Okay, then you could just kind of work it down a little bit, you know, thin it out, stretch it, make it go as far as you can. And don't worry about these things back here. Those will actually give you some roughage so that when you put them in place, it's got some sticky ability. So that's setting up right now. So I got a little mess here. So I'm going to shut this off and clean this up real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, got the mess cleaned up. Okay, this is drying, and while this is drying, I'm going to talk to you about my absolutely amazing, patent-pending, free color that I have used throughout my entire mountain range. You see this? Well, on the bottom of that is dirt. That's right, just free dirt and water. That's it. Boy, does that stuff work great. You could use brown, black, red, whatever part of the country you're into, you could use it. Now here's what I do. I'm going to set this over here, and I'm going to make sure you can see this good. Let's see. Okay, there's my dirt. And you get one of these little things here. You just kind of pour your dirt in there like that. And then I'm just going to do a little bit here. I don't need to do a whole lot. But see, when you start shaking it, you can see how fine this is. This is almost just above a powder, depending on how fine a grade you get here. But then this stuff you use as part of your ground cover. So don't throw that away. Just put that in a separate container, because my next video is going to be all about ground cover, and I'm going to show you how we use this. So this is what I do with this, is I mix up a whole bunch of this, and I got usually a whole coffee can full of this stuff. And then when I need it, I'll take like a full cup of water, and I put it in a clear container like this, because what happens is that dirt likes to separate like that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you got that completely shook up, and all the dirt is, you know, see that big clump there? See, you got to make sure it's all done. And then when this is all done, you could actually spray this. It'll go through a nozzle. But you got about 10 minutes of time on this, and then all that dirt's going to settle again, and then you're going to have to reshake it, which is no big deal. But that's what I used everywhere. And believe me, people, I have tried for 20 years to find a color that I can consistently use, get consistent color with. I have never found it until I found this dirt crap, and I've been using it ever since, and it just works great. And if it works for you, good luck with it, because I'll tell you what, free dirt is free dirt. But anyway, while that's drying now, I've got to wait probably a good, because I want to show you how to color it, I got to let it dry completely. So I'm going to shut this off. When this completely dries, we're going to get back. You've seen my color now. I'm going to show you how well that color takes care of this plaster mold. And now you could do the mold two ways. You could either take it like this and let it dry and then peel it off, and then you just put some drywall mud on the back of this, splatter it to where you want to go, and paint some drywall mud in there and blend it all together. Or if this was a great big one and I wanted to put it in place, then you could just smash it in place while it's still about this consistency. See this, how it's still leaving fingerprints in there? That's what you want. That's time to throw it on the layout and get ready with your yardsticks and everything, because you're going to be needing them. So that's two different ways of using the same type of thing. Now, as far as molds go, I make all of my own molds except that big mold. And what you do is you find a rock, get something that has, you know, character and crevices and stuff in it. And then you take this rubberized, I don't know, I think it's just called a rubberized something. Hobby Lobby carries it. It's pretty expensive, but it ain't too bad. You could get quite a few molds out of this. But this is how the mold would fit on there. And this is only about 4 layers. You give it a layer about every 12 hours and you're good to go. Now, when I made bigger ones, I would actually take the rock and put 2 layers down. And then I take this, something like this, which is, you know, something, a gauze, or you could use drywall tape and cut strips over the whole thing to give it some reinforcement, especially if you plan on bending it a lot. But anyway, then you put another couple more coats on it, and now you got 4 coats on it. And look what you could do with these things. I mean, you know, you could crumple them up, bang, they pop right back into place. So these things are really good. Main thing you want to do is when you're all done, especially ones like this that are pockets like this, you want to make sure you wash it real good, or you'll end up with a chip where you don't want it and it'll look terrible. But anyway, there's the mold. Here's my drying plaster. Let's let it dry. We'll get back and I'll show you how to color it and how neat that looks. See you in a bit. Okay, we're back. I think it's time we could take this out. So I'll set this down over here so you could, so you could see what I'm doing here. Okay. Now, what you want to do is you just take the mold out. You can see it's starting to lift. You just flop this and then this will come out, okay? Now this is still a little wet, but I think you're going to see what I'm trying to achieve here with you. It might soak in quite a bit, but again, See how that all separated like that? So you want to shake it up real good. Okay, and then when you take this off, you're going to have muddy water in there. And let's see, here's my brush. So you take the brush, and you can put this on as thick or as heavy as you want. See, I'm just dabbing it. Now you can see that thing just coming to life, okay, as far as color goes, okay? See that? Now, you think it's too dark? No problem. Just take your brush and tone it down. If you want more, just put more dirt back on it, okay? So now you can kind of see, ooh, what a mess. You can kind of see how that looks. Let me hold it back a little bit here and make sure you get a good view of that. You see how that looks with the different colors? And then you can turn one this way, you can turn them any way. But you get the concept here. This works great. You can change it anytime you want to. But once it's dry, okay? The only way you're going to redo it is if you put a light coating of white plaster on it. And I've done that sometimes, but you could just keep, you know, adding water to it, thin it down even more. You think it's got too much brown, you just want a light color in there? You can even rinse it off and just leave your highlights filled. You can see the speckles in there. Or just add some more right back to it. See? Look at that. That's a beautiful natural tone. I mean, it's as natural could be. It has a great look to it. You could also use like that Ritz dye. If you want to try some different colors, you could use any kind of paint, any colors, any type of colors you're familiar with working with. You could use watercolors. It doesn't make any difference because this stuff really takes anything you throw at it and it does a great job with it, especially with it being white. It gives it a light appearance, and then you could keep darkening it by adding more and more coats to it and all of that. But I think you kind of see what I did here. I showed you all about, you know, this, how to make the mountains, all about this, the free dirt color, how to make a mold. I think I pretty much covered everything I need to cover on this. So I'll tell you what, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. And I think I got one video I think I mentioned left to do, and that's how to make ground cover. But anyway, I hope you guys all enjoy this. This is Larry, over and out.